Yo, Ryan here. So today I'll be doing What If Naruto Was Betrayed Part 7, so let's get started. If you don't remember what happened last time, something in the top right corner will show up. It's the previous episode, go watch it and come back here. If you remember, let's get back to it. 3 days later, Naruto woke up to find himself in a bed, and decent one at that. He slowly sat up as he looked around, only to feel slight pain in his right cheek. Placing his hand on his right cheek, he felt bandages. Using his tongue, he could feel the bandages. It was a bit scary as he then felt something warm attached to him. Looking down, he saw Minako hugging him in her sleep. He smiled as he placed a hand on her back. Naruto rubbed her back as Minako's hold on him seemed to get tighter. "She was worried about you the whole time. You were out," said a voice as Naruto looked to his right and saw Oliva sitting in a chair with a band-aid over his cheek. Naruto smiled as he replied, "Yeah, I figure out. She was, so how come I got this on my cheek while you only got a band-aid?" "Oh, this? Bah, it's nothing, I'm just fast healer," Oliver replied like it was nothing. "So what are you doing here?" Naruto asked as Oliver smirked. "I got something for you after you get out. Come down to the races area, okay?" Oliver asked as Naruto nodded. "Alright, also, can I ask you something?" "Shoot, I need surgery done, a special kind of surgery," Naruto said as Oliver raised an eyebrow. Oliver shook his head as he said, "You're not in any mortal danger. Why do you need a surgery?" "I need some things installed," Naruto answered. Wait. You putting things in your body? Like what? Pipes? Pipes? Why pipes? You gonna do what those magicians do? Sucking their thumbs like smoke pipe and puffing out actual smoke?" Oliver questioned as Naruto smirked. "Like that, except instead of smoke it's gonna be blades and explosive," Naruto replied as Oliver shook his head again. He rubbed his temples as Naruto's smirk turned into a smile. "I'm also gonna need 10 pounds of sand and a large vase to hold the sand in, an assortment of natural potions." Naruto continued to speak in a whisper as Oliver face palmed. "I'm not even gonna ask," Oliver said as he stood up. "Well, I'm leaving, and remember, once you're done here, get out and meet me. Got it?" "Yeah, I got it," Naruto said as Oliver left the room. So, 4 hours later, Naruto was just finishing getting dressed in the bathroom to his medical room when he heard a voice say, "Daddy? Daddy, where are you?" As he smirked and walked out of the bathroom. "Over here, sweetheart," Naruto said as Minako turned around. She seemed to scramble to get off the bed as she launched herself off the edge of the bed and landed square in Naruto's chest. Naruto laughed as she cried, saying, "I thought you were going to die." "And why would I do that?" Naruto replied with a smirk as he hugged his daughter. "I was scared," Minako said through her cries as Naruto calmed her down. "Well, don't worry, sweetheart, I'm alive and well, and I guess I owe you for scaring you." "Yeah, Minako said as Naruto walked to the door and said, "Where are we going?" Minako asked. "We're going to see your godfather." 10 minutes walk later, a large crowd was in a races area as Naruto looked at it. Inmates were surrounding Oliver. In the middle of there seemed to be a stage in the middle. Naruto raised an eyebrow as Oliver turned his way and waved, "Oi, Naruto, make some room, everybody," Oliver said as people turned their heads and quickly moved to the side to allow Naruto and Minako to pass through. Naruto saw Oliver still waving at him as he shrugged and walked down toward him. Walking to Oliver, Naruto noticed that the inmates were in their knees as he walked by them. As Naruto reached the stage, Oliver handed out his hand for Naruto to grab. Naruto grabbed Oliver's hand and was pulled up to the stage. Before Naruto could say anything, Oliver put up a finger and said, "I'm gonna have to stop you right there, Naruto. Allow me to explain." As he turned to the crowd, he took a deep breath as Naruto wondered what was going on, and we can hear, "Attention, inmate. It has come to my attention that you also fight with Naruto and saw the outcome. He won," Oliver said, and Naruto's eyes went wide. "What?" Naruto asked as Oliver put his finger back up toward Naruto. "Naruto, because of that, I'm afraid to say I'm no longer the strongest in the Black Pentagon. That goes to Naruto Uzumaki." Oliver continued to speak, "But my pride can't, no, won't allow it. I love the spotlight, I love the roar of the crowd, and it's for the reason Oliver, warden of the inmates of a black pentagon, named Naruto Uzumaki and his daughter free people. What? Naruto asked. Naruto Uzumaki is a free man and inmates no longer. Oliver continued as Naruto's jaw was on the ground. Oliver turned to Naruto with a large smile and said, "Congrats, Naruto," as Naruto smiled back. He started to tear up as Minako looked at her father. "Daddy, what are you crying?" she asked as Naruto hugged her. "I'm just happy. Just so happy, Minako," Naruto replied and said, "I can go home." "But isn't this home?" Minako asked as Naruto realized something. Minako had never seen the world. She doesn't know how the world works. Well, that's maybe a lie. She was raised in prison. Of course, she knows how cruel the world can be. Hell, he still remembers the first time she saw trees. Flashback 1 year ago, Naruto was carrying Minako on his shoulder as they walked outside. Close to the fence as Naruto walking along, Minako pointed past the fence and asked, "Daddy, what is that?" "The fence?" Naruto asked. "No, that's the green and brown thing," Minako asked. "That's a tree," Naruto said. "Really? That's a tree?" Minako questioned. "Yeah, why do you ask?" "I thought trees were supposed to be white with the black spots over them," Minako said, and Naruto chuckled. "Sweetheart, there are many kinds of trees. There's the oak tree, the one you're thinking of called is like birch tree," Naruto answered as Minako set her head down on top of his. "I like it," she said as Naruto smiled. "I knew you would." End of flashback. Naruto walked to Oliver as he said, "Oliver, thank you for all you've done for me, but I can't." "Can't what? Find a word to thank me?" Oliver asked as Naruto laughed. "No, we don't have anywhere to go," Naruto said as he patted his daughter. "I'm afraid we'll be staying for a little while longer." "Alright, guys, I'm gonna have to have them get to work," Oliver said as he clapped his hand. "Okay, inmates, we'll be working on a little group project." So 2 weeks later, Naruto was sitting on top of operating table as he had a mask attached to his face. He looked up to see a doctor and he said, "So how long is this going to take?" "At most I'd say about 6 hours, that way you want it done," the doctors replied. "Metal implement blades in a wrist, elbow, heels and knees, and spring system in both arms. It's gonna be a tall order. You'll be in pain for the next few days, just so you know." I know, Naruto said as he started to go to sleep. "And don't worry, kid. You're in good hands," the doctor said as Naruto slowly went to sleep. So Naruto woke up to find himself in a corridor. There were pipes on the walls and the floor was covered in water. He looked around and saw nothing except for a large pair of bars and tag. He heard breathing as he cocked his head and stood up. "What the hell?" Naruto whispered as he slowly walked toward the bars. "Speck, Skiruski, Doyle, Dorian-kun, Yanagi, you guys here?" Naruto shouted. He continued to scream their names until a voice called him out. "Finally here. Took you a long time enough," it said as Naruto looked past the bars and saw Kyuubi. He was looking down at Naruto with a plain face as Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Why I am here, Fox?" Naruto asked. "I brought you here because I wanted to see what you have become and I must say, you earned something that not many have earned," the Kyuubi said. "And what's that?" Naruto replied. "My respect," the Kyuubi replied. Naruto continued to have a look at confusion on his face as he asked, "Respect? From you? That's like asking Konoha to look over my assault charges. It's not gonna happen." "I know what's happened, Uzumaki. That's why you earned my respect," the Kyuubi said with a sneer. "You rose from ashes and became better than before, and for this, I'm gonna give you some rent." "Rent?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, access to 3 taels worth of my chakra." Wait. Hold up. Why are you giving me your chakra?" You're even denying power from other sources." "Fine, then 4 taels worth. I'm not gonna accept this at all willingly. I'm not a brat anymore. I want an answer now," Naruto shouted as his voice seemed to snap in the air. His voice echoed through the air as the Kyuubi gritted his teeth and he was thinking. "His voice almost made my ear bleed. His voice can probably give the pink howler monkey a run for her money," the Kyuubi thought as he smirked. "You want an answer? Fine. It's because I hate people who steal power and make it their own." "What?" Naruto asked. "I hate thieves. I hate copycats. Those who steal power to make themselves stronger aren't stronger because they learned nothing. But you're different," the Kyuubi said. "You've grown by yourself. You didn't cheat. You didn't have everything handed to you on a silver platter. You worked hard for everything, and that is why I respect you. Wow. If I wasn't hearing this firsthand from another person, I would believe in this, Naruto said as he heard what the Kyuubi said. The Kyuubi giving him his respect to Naruto, on top of that giving him like 4 tails worth of chakra. Naruto smirked as he looked up at the Kyuubi and said, "Thanks, but I think I'll wait until I get out of here to take that rent. I still need to get stronger without your power," as he started to fade. "Look like you're waking up," the Kyuubi said as he laid down. "Yeah, I guess I'll see you around, huh? Kurama." "My name is Kurama," Kurama said as Naruto bowed. "Nice to meet you, Kurama," Naruto said as he vanished. So back to reality. Naruto woke up to someone poking his face. Daddy, wake up," Minako said as Naruto opened his eyes to see Minako poking his face. He smirked as he tried to sit up, but he felt a few pounds heavier and his body ached. "Oh god, everything hurts," Naruto said as Minako latched onto his neck. "Daddy, up," Minako said as she hugged him. Hey, calm down. Get off Daddy, he hurts." Naruto laughed as he softly pushed Minako off him. "I'm sorry. Don't be now. Can you help me up?" Naruto asked as Minako nodded. She got off the bed and helped Naruto up. He smiled as he stood up and looked down at himself. He was covered in stitches from his hand to his feet. Taking a deep breath, Naruto started to move his fingers and heard several clicks. He then felt things move inside his body, and when he moved his right thumb knuckles, an explosion erupted from Naruto's chest. A scorch mark could be seen from the wall in front of him, which was good 7 feet away. He smiled. He then moved his arm around and shook everything from his wrists to elbows. Naruto smirked as Oliva, Gokasho, and Hakasho entered the room. "We heard an explosion," Oliva said. "Is everything alright?" Hokasho asked. "How Minako?" Hakasho shouted as Minako skipped over to them with a smile. "I'm fine. Daddy just made a huge boom come from his chest," Minako said as they looked at so small, squares on Naruto's chest. Naruto walked over to them and said, "How is it going, guys?" as Hokasho struck him in the head, and Naruto didn't even flinch as Hokasho ranted, "You idiot! What were you thinking? Testing your new stuff while she's here. She could have gotten hurt." "Jeez, for a man with a scar across your throat, you sure talk a lot," Naruto replied as Hokasho rubbed his sad throat. "Also, Oliva, do you have the stuff I asked for?" "Yup, just came a few hours after you went under," Oliva said as Naruto smiled. "Perfect, now take Minako to my cell. I've got to do this alone, but above that, I've taken the responsibility of moving you." "Excuse me? Wanna see new home?" Oliva asked. 30 minutes later, Naruto stood in front of a large house. It was good 40 feet away from the black pentagon and looked like it was 2 stories tall. Minako was already running to the door as Naruto was looking at it in amazement. "How did you do this?" Naruto asked Oliva, and Oliva just chuckled. "You can do a lot of things with bunch of people with their life at stake," Oliva said as Naruto looked at Hokasho, who shivered. "You made the entire prison build this house, didn't you?" "Yup," Oliva said with a smile. Naruto sighed as he walked to the open door and saw Minako running around the house. "It's so big," Minako said as Oliva nodded. "That's it, a walk-in, a kitchen, 2 living room, 2 bathrooms, 1 for each floor, and 3 bedrooms," Oliva said. "All in 2 weeks?" "Yup. We're still trying to get the electricity." "Wait, never mind," Oliva said as the light went on. 2 hours later, Naruto was in his room upstairs. He was standing in front of the vase with the sand he asked for. On the shelf next to him was an assortment of plants and insects. Taking a deep breath, Naruto walked over to the shelf and started to pick out plants and insects. "You need to make sure that each weighs the same amount," Naruto said Yanagi as he appeared. "Then you grind it up, mix it with water, and put it on in the sand," he instructed as Naruto did what he said. As he was doing this, he was creating an antidote next to him. Once everything was done, Naruto had a vase of poison sand. Now stab your hand in it for the next 12 minutes and 18 minutes in the afternoon for the next 3 days. Once your hand has the coloration of a sweet potato, you're done. Yanagi said as Naruto did that, stabbing his hand over and over into the sand. So 3 days later, Naruto left the hand was a swollen and color of sweet potato skin. He was walking toward flower pot with a white lily, put his hand over one covering the entire flower. When he pulled his hand back, the flower kinda disintegrated. So 3 years later, Naruto stood in front of Oliva Gokasho. He stood at 6'5" tall, has scar on his right cheek going to the base of his ear. Naruto has long hair going the base of his neck, a gray bandana tied around his head, had the top half of his prison suit torn off, and now act as his pants with a white cloth as a belt. He also wearing a short sleeved t-shirt that he wear plain black sandals that cover his toes. His left hand was now in a normal color and had one pair of shades. Holding his left hand was Minako, who was wearing an orange dress that went down past her knees, and long black pants, and yellow and red hair clipped on the side of her head. On both her hands were gloves, both given to her by Hokasho and Gokasho. Both gloves were black, but with one notable difference. The gloves on her right hand had square metal back to it, while the other was circle. She was also holding a small doll in her arm. It was a smaller version of Oliver wearing his clothes with a broken chain around his neck. As he stood in front of each other, Naruto smiled as they smiled and said, "It's been 8 years since you came here, Naruto, and now you live as the strongest person in the world that can't use chakra," Oliver said. "Yeah, 8 years, holy crap," Naruto said as he whispered the last part. "And it was just 2 years ago little Minako started to train," Hokasho said as he ruffled the girl's hair. "I've been practicing my cycling like Daddy said," Minako said as Hokasho kneeled down. "Oh, really? Show me," he said as Minako let go of her father's hand and took a horse stance. She brought her right hand over to rest and shot it forward, hitting Hokasho in the face. Hokasho flinched in a bit as he chuckled. "Guess you have," he said as he stood up. A few moments later, his nose started to bleed. "She got you good," Naruto said as then ruffled Minako's hair. "Daddy," Minako said with a huff as Naruto smirked. "What?" "Hokasho can do it, but I can't. I'm hurt," Naruto said as Minako pouted. "You're too rough," she mumbled as Naruto lied. They enjoyed their last few minutes together as Naruto picked up Minako in his arm and said, "Hope we see each other again." "We will, Naruto, and have these two watch over your house," Oliver said as he pointed at the twins at his side. "Yeah, we also lock up the toys in your safe," Gokasho said. "Please?" Minako asked as he nodded. "We're gonna miss you both," Gokasho replied. "And we'll miss you all too," Naruto said. "So where do you plan on going?" Oliver asked. "I decided on going to the Stone Diamo," Naruto said as he waved goodbye. "Say goodbye, sweetheart." "Bye-bye," Minako shouted as Oliver and the twins waved goodbye to Naruto. All slowly started to run. So, on 400-mile run in 55 minutes later, Naruto was getting tired as he slowed down in his sprint into a jog while Minako was in his arm. His jog then became a walk. As he stopped a few minutes later, he leaned against a tree and took several deep breaths. "I don't understand how Speck went to Japan to New York and back to Japan in a single day on foot," Naruto said as he leaned forward and took one single deep breath while Minako wrapped her arm around his neck. "Daddy, I'm hungry," Minako said. "Sweetheart, I don't think there is anything to," and we hear a crack sound, Naruto said as he heard something turn to his head, spot a large bear. Smirking, Naruto jumped into the air and put Minako on a tree branch. Stay right there, Minako. We're having a bear meat for lunch, Naruto said as he shot out of the bear and punched it in the jaw. Jumping on his in its back, Naruto put his hand around the bear head and turned it violently, snapping it neck and killing it. Hopping on the bear as it fell to the ground, Naruto smiled as he his work as he walked back over to the tree where Minako's was. Okay, sweetheart, lunch is here, he said as Minako fell out of the tree. Naruto caught her and set her on the ground as she ran over to the bear. How are we going to eat it? Minako asked, and Naruto flinched, flicked his wrist and blade popped out like this. So, timescape brought to you by Shibi. Minako playing tag with Shibi Dorian-kun. So, Minako was sitting in front of the fire while there were sounds of cracking and banging behind her. On the fire was a bear meat while the skin was hung near the fire. When the sound stopped, Naruto came back over with a smirk. Shelter is done, he said as he pointed behind him. Minako turned around to see a cave. She smiled as she shot up and ran to it. Wow, this is great, Minako said as she shouted in the cave, of which she got small echo, and she said hello, and you can hear the echo go hello, hello, hello. She started laughing and said, this is fun, as Naruto smiled. Okay, the food is done, Naruto said as he took a chunk of bear meat off the fire and started to eat. Daddy, don't eat without me, Minako said as she ran back. So, after lunch, why do I have to stay here? Minako asked as she went wrapped up in a dry bear pelt. Because I want you to be safe, Naruto argued. But I'm safer with you, aren't I? Minako said as she hopped as Naruto sighed. Sweetheart, if you were to come with me, someone would be able to take you away from me. You don't want that to happen, do you? Naruto asked as Minako shook her head. Then please stay here where you're safer. I'll see you in a few hours, he said as he waved goodbye while she did the same. So with that, I'm gonna end it on a cliffhanger. I don't want to keep you here any longer, so stay home, stay safe, wash your hand. Please don't forget not to subscribe, or do not like the video until you like my content, and see you next video. Peace out, bye bye.